installment which called Belarus is held hostage. So today we're gonna talk about Belarus. My name is Denis. I'm activist and a journalist based in Belgium. I'm originally from Belarus, and I lived there for years. And let's try to make it interactive right from the start. So please do not hesitate to ask questions and send your messages. I see hello from Scottsdale. So hello from Belgium. Today is day 11th of the protest in the country, and let's start from the brief recap of what's going on there. So Belarus, it's a 10 million people country between Poland and Russia in Eastern Europe, and it is under dictatorship for 26 years. The one guy is ruling the country. His name is Alexander Lukashenko, and 11 days ago, people of Belarus, after the election, they took to the streets in the protest. It's not the first time people of Belarus took to the streets after the election in their attempt to topple the dictator. And it was not the first time when the dictator answered with their brutal crackdown. But this time the crackdown was really terrible, unprecedented, even by low standards of Lukashenko regime, and it continued for 3 days. So for 3 days, people were beaten and arrested, and 6,000 were arrested, and unfortunately, 2 people were shot to death on the streets of Minsk, in the capital of Belarus. But despite this unprecedented crackdown, people continued to take to the streets, and they continued to fight for their freedom. And authorities, they just took a pause. So they stopped this crackdown. They took a wait-and-see approach. And more and more people took to the streets. And then they decided to start a national strike. So that's state of affairs, how they are as of now. So it is, I would say, it like a draw. So right now, many enterprises in Belarus are on strike. People do take to the streets every day. I see hello from Los Angeles, so hello from Belgium. Thanks. Thanks for saying hello. Don't hesitate to ask questions. So people do take to the streets every day in Belarus. It was unthinkable like 2 weeks ago. Because the deal is like, if you take to the street in Belarus, you go to jail for like 2 weeks. But now it's not even newsworthy. From little towns like with population of 10,000 people to the capital, people do take to the street every day. Moreover, the majority of the enterprises, they are on strike. However, the authorities, to put it mildly, they don't care, and like Lukashenko still calls himself a president. He remains in power, and this standoff continues. So that's how it goes right now. So here I see the question: what do you think is going to happen? It's very complicated story right now in Belarus because there are a few factors. It's a few major players, I would say. So first and the main, and it like should be the one, it's Belarusian people. But unfortunately, there is another player is a dictator with this gang of his supporters, not rather supporters, but the people who are working for him, who are ready to torture people, to kill the people on the streets. So Lukashenko, it's like part of this gameplay. Another major player, it's which is looming like behind, it's Vladimir Putin, because Belarus it's under great influence of Russia. Lukashenko for years he was undermining the culture, the independence, the history, the economy. Everything was like linked to Russia, even the language itself, like the majority speak Russian. But anyway, so it's the third main player in this scene. So people of Belarus, Lukashenko and his regime, uh, Russia, and I would say, quote unquote, the West and mainly European Union. So leaders of the European Union, they are also try to uh, this to uh, put some like influence on the situation. Today was a meeting of the European Commission, which is like, colloquially speaking, the government of the European Union. So they promised to impose sanctions against those who are responsible for the brutal killings and who are responsible for the election fraud. So I don't like have to tell you, but just to clarify, the Lukashenko he did not win the elections, and there are provable a number of evidence that he lost. But nevertheless, the regime, the people who are like entirely under him, they claim that he won the elections. So, like officially, quote unquote, he got like 80%, which is obviously and demonstrably not true. So I see the question, is there any legal solution for removing him from power? Uh, and here, like in politics, very much depends on the people, on the personalities. And here in Belarus, we have a very unfortunate, personality, which some people they call him Belarusian Gaddafi. It's not. It doesn't look like that he's going to go out of power by any legal means. So it's important, it's worth to understand that he calls himself president, but in reality, he is like a king. So, like, he controls every branch of power. He uh, put he put the judges in their position, including the Supreme Court. So their parliament it's completely under his control. The election, like it's like the person who is responsible for election. He not only serves him. It's rather she not only serves him. He like obsequious when she see him, and like she tries to deliver every time. So it's there is no, practically speaking, unfortunately, there is no legal solution to this crisis. It's just literally one guy whom everybody hates, uh, but he does not care, or he's pretending not to care, and he basically don't want to leave. And that's how it is as of today. Actually, I believe on Sunday it was a very interesting, or on Monday, yeah, sorry, it was on Monday. It was a very interesting attempt from Lukashenko. So he went to the big plant in Minsk, in the state enterprise, and he gave a speech. And he started to make prepared remarks, and he gave a speech to the workers of this enterprise. And the sweetest thing of all, it was not just the workers, it was pre-selected the most quote unquote reliable persons who usually should be, very very calm and very supportive of Lukashenko. So they pre-selected the people who would like basically stand and clap to his face, whatever he says. That's how it was for 26 years. But this Monday, quite amazingly, when he took the stage, people just started to shout like, go away, go away. And after the talk, very rancorous talk, I would say, he was interrupted many times. So, but literally, it was very amazing to watch. They shouted him, "Go away," and he just saying, like, "Thank you, I will answer this question and continue this blah 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 thing." So it was like he really doesn't care. Like it's like stupid, like in the party, somebody got drunk and he's like too drunk and you tell him like okay, well, maybe it's time to go home, but he like really doesn't give a slightest worry about what you're saying. That's how it looks in Belarus. Even after the meeting, amazingly, uh, somebody from the crowd told him like loudly like shoot yourself, literally. That's what the person cried. It was another amazing moment because nobody ever like in his presence to his face while he's in power told to him like shoot yourself, but the one guy did, and he got pissed off and was like literally screaming at the guy who is very brave. He got arrested actually, but then he got released because I think this whole story of this interaction, it was filmed and it spread on the internet very in a viral fashion, and I think that's why he was released the same day he was arrested. Otherwise, I do believe he would have like bad consequences for this shout. So, but what I'm saying, nevertheless, despite everything that you can feel the hatred, but Lukashenko just simply does not want to go away. And I see some comments regarding the US, and actually, my personal take, it's amazing how those authoritarian quote unquote leaders, because they're not actual leaders, but it's amazing how they alike. It's like you can take the authoritarian guy from different countries and they really they behave in the same fashion. So for example, Lukashenko denied the COVID, so he literally literally, I'm not exaggerating, at the very same time as Trump, he enforced the wall around his residence. So it's just amazing to watch how they look alike. So I see the question like whether Putin is going to intervene, or something to that effect. The question, I mean, something to that effect. But and this is the main topic on the mind of people of Belarus. So once again, the situation is like that. People, as the people of Belarus, they united. They understand that they are the people. They want to change. The demands are simple: new elections, freedom for political prisoners, and dismissal of Lukashenko. So Lukashenko, in a sense, himself, he's inconsequential. He does not have this power. He can stay on with the forceful means for some time, but he does not have a base. Nothing. Zero. Zip. He does not have a base. It's just literally people on the one side, on the other side it's like small dictator who is supported by sheer brutality and nothing else. So Lukashenko, it's sort of like he's done deal that nobody cares about him that much inside the country. But if you talk to people there, what they really do care, it's that question which I just saw here, whether Putin is going to invade. That's what people are really care about. And the thing that's unknown, the true, it's nobody knows. Like there are arguments for and against, but the reality is Putin does have a lot of options which he can apply to Belarus. He can give a huge amounts of money to Lukashenko. He can save his he can send his little green man covertly like he did in Crimea. He can send troops like openly, like crossing the border, just open occupation. So and people are really, when you talk to people on the ground in Belarus, they are really freaked out. It's that's the main problem right now. It's not the Lukashenko. It's like Lukashenko is going slightly and gradually he's becoming less and less, significant. But what is more and more worrying, it's what Mr. Putin will do. So whether he's going to invade, as I thought, nobody knows. I hope not. And here uh, in this particular circumstances, their reaction from the West, from the European Union, and from the US is vital. So if they would tell him that, if the Western leaders, would tell to Putin that if you do invade, they're going to be harsh sanctions, like literally like Iran-style sanctions, then I think he will not. I also think Putin will not stop by himself. So unless he will be told to stop, he will not stop by himself. Similar to like Lukashenko, like all dictators, they look similar. So somebody must tell him to stop. I hope that's what Western leaders do now. Because I know that the Angela Merkel, leader of Germany, Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, they were talking to Putin with regard to Belarus, and I do hope they told him that if he will invade, then there will be consequences. So that's my best hope. And it's very important for people of Belarus to continue to take on the street, to continue to take to the streets. So right now, Putin takes a wait and see approach. And I think that is because people took to the streets in such large numbers. By the way, this Sunday, there was a protest rally in Belarus. It was the biggest rally ever in history of Belarus. Uh, it was so big that nobody knows how much people took to the streets because they took in literally all the cities, at the very least, in all major cities, but actually in all small towns as well. So it was like literally close to, I would say, million probably people to Belarus. So it's like my take is literally more than 10% of the country took to the streets because I'm kind of extrapolating in one smaller towns where it was possible to calculate the size of the crowds, and in the capital it was impossible to calculate. So coming back to Putin, if the people will continue to take to the streets in such large numbers, then I do believe Putin will kind of like back off. So I don't think he's such a tough guy as he portrays to, because again, all those dictators in reality they do have very thin skin. So I hope on that. And if people will continue to take to the streets, and if the EU leaders will continue, I hope, I don't know, but if they will tell him like there will be consequences, I hope that Putin can stay away. And to sum up, the path to the victory in for people of Belarus, it's rather narrow, but it does exist and it's real. So I do hope on that. Okay, so let's take a look at some other questions. So I see the question from, I know and I'm reading, I noticed Belarusian troops have amassed at the border. What are the security concerns for Europe? So I do think that Lukashenko is he himself, he is right now he's a security risk for Europe. It's not, but it's not in a sense that he will attack the neighboring country, but I do believe he's trying to find some provocation that would make like more legitimate ground for Putin to invade. I think that's his game plan for Lukashenko. So what Lukashenko doing right now, he brought a large masses of troops to the border with the European Union. So he claiming that there are military drills. It's like when the country basically is uprising and millions take to the streets. It's it's kind of funny. It's not the best time for the military drills, but that's what they say. It's just planned military drills. And by the way, like we concentrate the soldiers, the troops on the border with the European Union. And I think as a plan B, what Lukashenko hopes for, it's for some sort of provocation, like which he can portray as if European Union try to put some, I don't know, military pressure, whatever. So basically, if there will be the optics that the European Union tries to put a security risk for Belarus, then the Putin would have some legitimate base to invade and avoid sanctions. So that's kind of tricky, dirty politics of Lukashenko, which he's trying to play right now. So in sum, once again, I don't think he poses a huge threat by himself, but he is looking for small provocations. Maybe he would be happy if two, troops make a small shots over the border, and that would change the game dramatically. And then Putin would invade, like to protect the neighboring country, which is in agreement with Russia for such, for defense purposes. Okay, so I see. Let's go to the next question. What happened to the regime supporters? Are they still in the country or are they running away? So once again, unfortunately, Lukashenko do not back up. So regime supporters, they are despised by people. So it's literally, it's more and more like it happenings, like the guy who participated in the rally for Lukashenko, he's being booed like everybody in his neighborhood, but it's still he's still there. They are continue to, military guys, they continue to go to their job. Police continue to, to arrest people in smaller scale, but still. So most importantly, the so-called nomenclatura, the authorities, local authorities, continue to ignore the protests. So it's the supporters, they're still in the country, unfortunately. Important thing to understand about Belarus, because it's not quite as straightforward. They are not real supporters. They not Once again, nobody really supports Lukashenko. It's intimidation. People are being scared. Like there are defections from. I'll give you one example. So two examples. So there are defections from the law enforcement officers, and when they give out their resignation letters, sometimes they get arrested. So one guy from Novopolotsk, he is a lieutenant colonel. He is a very senior special investigator. Novopolotsk, it's a small town in the north of Belarus. So he's a senior special investigator, and he works in the police for 17 years. And for you to understand, if you work as a senior investigator in a small town, you know in person like everybody, like the mayor, the judges, like everybody knows you. You're like big man in the like in small if you're a senior investigator. After 17 years After 17 years of his work, he submitted resignation letter in protest, and they tried to arrest him on the spot in this very room where he brought his resignation letter, which is of course entirely legal. But because he's like experienced senior investigator, he got away, so he was not arrested. They tried to make up allegations against him, but he was smart enough not to get in trouble. Uh, oh, and another example, even more brutal, even more worrying. So another former law enforcement officer uh, saw in his front yard how the police was brutally beating three girls and two guys, very young, and they were beating them, like really with full force. Uh, and he went to police office where he was working previously. He went to file a complaint, and he went to this office, and 100 people were waiting for him outside, so just in support of him. He went in, and he did not went out. His phone is out of reach, and that's now it's for 2 days the situation like that. He probably got arrested, of course, that's we presume, but factually we don't know where he is, what his whereabouts. So yeah, that's how it works in this enforcing this like will of one guy over the entire state apparatus. It's not, once again, Lukashenko has zero support. It's just everybody afraid. And people who create this fear, the law enforcement, they afraid, I think, even more because they know from the inside what's going on. Okay, so now I'm going to the question. Do you think the armed forces, army, OMON police would have to side with the people in order for Lukashenko to lose power? Or is there an alternative? So again, because it's very complicated and the biggest, joker behind the scene, biggest player, it's Mr. Putin. So my personal take, I don't think it's smart to actually fight with the law enforcement. I do think right now people doing the smartest thing possible under the circumstances, and this is national strike. It's ongoing. Sorry, I should say it's developing. It's not like each enterprise stopped working completely. That's what people aiming to basically put the country on hold. So they are trying to make to force all major enterprises in the country to stop. But right now it's not the case. The case is the following: almost in all enterprises there is a strike committee. So there are some protest core workers who would like to strike, but the enterprise itself continue to operate. So, for example, like let's say in one enterprise in the West, it's called Grodno Azot. From 7,000 workers, 1,000 is on strike, and the plant itself continue to operate and productions can continue. So I see the questions which are pouring in. Is it technically martial law? No, no, it's not a martial law. Luckily, and I think it's the option which Lukashenko is actually considering, but it's not martial law yet. But my take, it might be because we kind of resemble the history of Poland if you go to the history, and there are basically, in short, there are reasons to think, there are arguments to think that there might be martial law in Belarus. It's actually the next logical step for Lukashenko to follow. I saw the question, with the strike breaker from Russia, is it possible to make the demonstration frightening enough to break the movement down? And I think that's what the authorities they literally trying to do. So they we out of time. We can continue maybe next time in depth about the strike, but to tell you briefly today what the authorities trying to do, they try to intimidate people, and uh, uh, in one case, in the state TV channel, because for authoritarian regimes, propaganda it's vital part of the regime. So one vital part it's repression, it's fear. Another vital part it's propaganda. Propaganda, it's not like everybody have to believe in propaganda, but it must be pouring in from each, TV, radio, website, whatever. Whenever you show up, you, as a subject of the authoritarian regime, you must to receive propaganda in order to this entire regime operate. So it was a big hope in Minsk when state propaganda, main actually propaganda channel, so-called, I would call it Fox News on steroids, they took a strike, but strike breakers from Russia were brought in the matter of 24 hours, and this propaganda continues in Belarus. So again, we can go on depth on the strike and the dynamics of it probably next time. But again, just to briefly, yes, the authorities they do try to put to threaten the people, and in case the fear does not work, in the vital parts they bring a strike breakers from Russia. Okay, so probably, yeah, just to change the tune, what's the favorite food dish of Belarus? And hard question. We probably something has to do something with potato, but yeah, maybe there are some other answers. I'm not in kitchen, but I'm sure the potato should be there in some shape or form. I'm not sure I've answered to all the questions, but I think it's we are close to it's time to conclude, and uh, I I just maybe one comment. The intimidation tactics sound very similar to what happened in Venezuela. Yes, that's true. And in Venezuela it did work, but here a bit of difference. Again, the people of Belarus they try to take this, in my view, the smartest option possible. It's the national strike. So I do hope that with this strike approach, it will grow, and let's hope for that. Let's hope for this chance to work, and um, thank you very much for your attention, because international spotlights it's crucially important. All those dictators they are actually very thin-skinned, so please do keep follow up these developments in Belarus. And thank you. Goodbye and long life Belarus.